Hi friends, welcome back. I hope everyone is enjoying November and staying warm wherever you are. We are focusing on pumpkins today because they are local and in season, and everywhere you are looking you can find them. So I thought it would be fun to look at two recipes that center on pumpkins. Pumpkin soup to stay warm in these cold months, and a pumpkin apple butter bread. Think about how to use pumpkins in the apple butter that is also everywhere in this area right now in season. So let's get started with our pumpkin soup. It's going to be savory, it's not going to be sweet. So if you're concerned about doing a sweet pumpkin soup, do not be. This is going to have bacon and garlic and a delicious creamy topping, so it'll be nice and savory, I promise. So we're going to start off with bacon. This is, oh, the oven has preheated. Thanks so much. I love it when it tells you that so you don't forget that the oven is on and burn your house down. This is slab bacon. It is easy to find local. You will see it is fattier than bacon that you pick up at the grocery store, but the fat will render out. It gets really crispy and super salty again, so beware of the salt quotient of this bacon. They normally cure it with real salt instead of a nitrate base, so it has a more saline flavor, just so you know. So I'm going to cut these into little chunks. The French call them lardons, if you ever go to the Culinary Institute of America or some other place. Cut them into strips and then cut them again into smaller little chunks. These will go in the pot, high heat, they'll brown up, and they'll be a great base for the bottom of the soup. They're also going to go in the topping. I'm going to mix this with some local Greek yogurt, some fresh sage, and make a creamy spread to go on top and just swirl around. So these are our pieces of bacon. I'm going to come over here to our pot. High heat again. The bacon will smoke. It's fine. Just make sure you have a window open somewhere so it can escape and not set your smoke alarm off. But that'll start to brown up in just a few minutes. I'm also going to add garlic. We are so fortunate here in this area to have lots of delicious garlic, and they come in these huge bulbs. If you're trying to eat local and keep everything local, garlic will last a long time over the winter. So if you're worried about what am I going to eat in December, January, February, garlic will last you a long time. Make sure it's dry. See how this one kind of crumbles apart like this? This is great. This means it'll last for a while. Keep it in a cool, dark place. It'll last you 3 to 4 months, no problem. When you want to get the garlic out of the paper, you obviously don't want to eat this dry part. You could sit here for hours and try and peel away each little bit, but if you just put the flat part of your knife on the garlic, your hand on that, and push down, you will see that the garlic itself just pops right out. I have to stand on my tiptoes because sometimes my counters are too high. But the paper will come off and the garlic will just squeeze out like that. And then you are ready to just give it a quick chop. This soup is going to be pureed with an immersion blender if you have one, or just a normal blender, no problem. So they don't have to be tiny little pieces. If you love garlic, you can do as many cloves as you like. I would probably put 3 or 4 in if it were just for me, but other people in my house don't like garlic quite as much as I do, so 1 is plenty. It'll brown up with the bacon, and again, it'll all get zhuzhed together and really smooth at the end. So if it's not super fine, do not worry about it at all. But this will start to brown. You can hear it sizzling, which will be great. And we'll let this go until the bacon is really crisp and most of the fat has rendered out. We'll then pull the bacon out and drain it on a paper towel and use it later on for the topping. I'm going to rinse my hands, and while that bacon starts to cook, I'm going to get started on our pumpkin apple butter bread, which is fantastic. The apple butter keeps it really moist. We're going to be cooking and baking with honey. Now, we don't grow sugar cane here in the mountains of Virginia, unfortunately, so if you're looking for white sugar locally or brown sugar, it is very hard, if not impossible, to find, but we've got tons of honey, even with the bee blight that is currently going on. When you bake with honey, a couple of things to keep in mind. 1, honey browns really quickly, so make sure if you're baking, if your oven is at a high heat, you watch it, because the top will get brown before the inside is fully cooked. So you can dial it back a little bit on the heat if that helps. The other one is that, of course, honey is a liquid as opposed to a solid like white sugar is. So you want to make sure you cut back on some of the liquid that you're using, either on some of the water or the milk or whatever is your liquid in there. That'll help get the balance right on liquid to solid in your mixture. But other than that, honey is delicious. It's very sweet. I normally do about half the amount of honey that white sugar calls for. It also is a helpful way just to cut some of the sugar out of what you're eating, but the honey is so sweet you won't notice the difference at all, I promise. So let's get started on the pumpkin bread. I'm going to use a stand mixer that we have here. If you have one of these, they work great. If not, you can just use a hand mixer. That also works fine. But we're going to start with 2 cups of pumpkin in Now this is a pumpkin that I actually roasted off myself. It is really easy to do your own pumpkin at home. Grab one of the small, sometimes they're called pie pumpkins or sugar pumpkins. They're only about this big around. They are perfect for baking. Grab one of those, cut the top off, or even easier, just cut the thing in half. Scoop out the insides, upside down in a pan, roast it 400 degrees, 25 minutes or so. It gets super soft. You can scoop the flesh out of the skin after that and you're set to go. It tastes 100 times better than canned pumpkin. It'll last in your fridge for at least a week, if not two, just already roasted like that. You can freeze it and keep it for the rest of the year. It's delicious. So that's what I did for this pumpkin. That's 2 cups of pumpkin in here, 4 eggs. These are double yolk eggs. If you're getting eggs locally, you can get all sorts of fun types of eggs. These eggs are double yolk. It makes it even richer, delicious pumpkin bread. So these are 4 double yolk eggs that are going in. And then this is our butter and apple butter combo. Half a cup of local butter, half a cup of apple butter. The apple butter, again, has sweetness in it from the apples, so that does help boost up the sweetness of this bread as well. So that is all going to go in. Then the last wet ingredients to go in is a 1/4 cup water and a half a cup of honey. Quick tip when you're measuring honey. Spray your measuring cup or your measuring spoon with a cooking spray. I know this isn't local. If you find local cooking spray in this area, please call me and tell me. But go ahead and spray this down. That way when you put your honey in, it will just slide right out, which is so much more beneficial than trying to scoop it out from here when it can't just slide out. So we're going to do 3/4 of a cup of honey. Uh-oh, my spoon is coming right with it. 3/4 of a cup of honey and a 1/4 cup of water. All this is going to then get mixed together until it's super smooth. You see how that honey just slips right out? So much easier. I'm going to turn this on and then check on my bacon. It's starting to smell amazing. Uh-oh. It's really helpful to plug it in before you turn it on. Alright. We'll let that go for a few minutes and check on the bacon. Oh, it smells so good. This will take a few more minutes to brown, so we'll keep moving on our pumpkin bread. I'm going to go ahead and add a 1/4 cup of water, and then we'll add our dry ingredients. Our dry ingredients are flour, 3½ cups, baking soda, about 2 teaspoons, and a 1.5 teaspoons of salt. We've got a great mill that grinds our flour locally, which is wonderful. They even grow their own wheat. If you can find local flour, it's great. Again, it is very often just the same price as store-bought flour that you would buy at your grocery store. What you will notice, though, is that most oftentimes they don't bleach their flour. So when you get it, although it's white flour, it will still have kind of a brown tinge to it. Don't worry, it tastes great. If anything, there might be a slightly nuttier flavor, but it's perfect to use just like plain white flour. So go ahead and mix that in. And once this is in, then this is ready. It's going to go in a 350-degree oven. This makes enough for 2 loaves, one for you and one to give away to a friend who is lucky enough to receive it. It'll bake for about 45 minutes to an hour until it's set on the inside and really golden brown up at the top. Remember though, with the honey, watch it so it doesn't brown too quickly. I'm going to go ahead and get that in the oven, finish up the bacon, and when we come back, we'll finish up the pumpkin soup and ice our pumpkin bread.